Superheroes have been around for a long time. In fact, if you're my age or younger, most of the popular comic book characters from Marvel and DC were created before we were even born. On this channel, we tend to tackle projects based on ephemera from the Gen X era, the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And when it comes to comic book heavy hitters, there were a few created in this time. For Marvel, you've got Wolverine, created in 1974, and Deadpool, created in 1990. But when it comes to DC, one character that I can think of has reached that level of popularity: Harley Quinn. She first appeared in 1992 in the Batman the Animated Series episode Joker's Favor. And for my money, Batman the Animated Series is the best interpretation of Batman ever. Originally, she was created by Bruce Timm and Paul Dini as a one-off character, but her overwhelming popularity led to the creation of a one-shot comic featuring her origin called Mad Love. The rest, as they say, is history. She went on to become increasingly more popular, starring in several comic books, television shows, and movies. And if you've ever been to a comic convention, you can't walk 2 feet without bumping into a Harley Quinn cosplayer. So, why am I bringing all of this up? Well, I recently had the opportunity to create a piece of artwork featuring Harley Quinn and her partner in crime, the Joker, for Surprise Comics as part of their Black Friday event, celebrating Harley Quinn's origin story in that comic book, Mad Love. And since she is one of the most well-known comic book characters created for Gen X, I figured I would chronicle the process here on my channel. So without any further delay, to the art lab. Let's suit up. Here we are back in the art lab, and for this piece, I want to start the process digitally, but by the end, I want to have a really cool piece of traditional, original artwork and a showstopper prop worthy of being displayed in the Batcave. Does that sound awesome? Then let's get started. We'll start this process by making a simple gesture drawing. The Surprise Comics Mad Love Black Friday promotion will have come and gone by the time you watch this, but I'll be sure to add some footage at the end of this video so you can get a better feel for the event. I'm taking some liberty with a Joker card. In a standard deck of cards, the 2 Jokers usually aren't face cards where they have 2 reversible figures. But the great thing about being an artist is you get to take artistic license. I'm digitally penciling this piece in Clip Studio Paint, and as I've mentioned before, this is my absolute favorite drawing application, especially for comic books. The cool thing about this piece is it's going to be reversible with no particular top or bottom to it. Now, I have a pretty high bar to live up to, as the previous promotions for this event were illustrated by the very talented Eric Henson, who hopefully I'll show some of his work on screen here so you can check it out. I want to ink this piece traditionally so that I have an original piece of artwork to sell. So I'm going to be trying a new technique where I print out the pencils in reverse on the back of an 11x17 sheet of Bristol and then ink over it on a light box. To make sure that I have a tight drawing to ink from, I digitally inked this piece in Clip Studio Paint and spotted all of my blacks in gray. I'm going to offer this digital version to members of my newsletter on Substack. It should make for a fun coloring page. My newsletter is free to join at my website, and as a bonus, you get the free Comic Maker Starter Kit packed with fonts, brushes, templates, all of which you can use to make your own comic books. I bought this light box online. It's just shy of 11 by 17, but I think it will work fine for most comic book pages since the actual image should fit inside the illuminated area. I'm adding a piece of cardboard to the bottom so that my Bristol won't bend when my hand rests on it. I have a link to this light box in the description as well as links to other tools that I'll be using. I like to dim the luminosity so it's not too bright. When I ink, I typically use diluted black number 4, which has a bit of a matte finish. Unfortunately, I ran out, so I'm using number 5. It has a little more of a gloss finish to it, but it's not too bad. I use an eyedropper to drop a little bit of ink in a bottle cap or small container. This gives me a little more control over how much ink the brush absorbs. I usually recommend a Winsor Newton Series 7 brush. Those can get pricey and mine's a bit frayed, so I went and bought a few Cotman watercolor brushes. These are really good economy brushes that you can pick up at most art and craft stores. I use microns for the straight lines. Since the light box is powered by a USB cord, it can tend to get in the way when rotating your artwork, so I'll just have to manage. I'll ink all the background elements with the micron. I want anyone who views this piece to be able to search for all the hidden elements in the background, so I loaded it with Easter eggs. I scanned the original art so that I can color it in Photoshop. CSP handles Photoshop files pretty well, at least if you're using the basic features like I am. So it's not too hard to switch back and forth, saving everything as a PSD file. The coloring technique I'm using here is a bit different than I've used before, but I've seen a variation of this used in comics quite a bit. I'll start by cel shading the illustration, then I'll go in and add some gradient tones. Joker and Harley are great villains, but Batman has an incredible rogues gallery. Who's your favorite Batman villain? Leave a comment and let me know. I've always been partial to the Riddler. So yes, this is going to be a print that will be exclusive to Surprise Comics customers on Black Friday, but for YouTube, I feel I need to tick things up a notch. So I'm going to create a giant playing card with a front and a back. So let's design the back of the card. I'm going to do this in the style of the classic bicycle playing card back, but make sure it features elements from both the Joker and Harley Quinn in the design. I created a mock-up that I'll trace in Clip Studio Paint using the symmetry tool divided into fourths. That way I only have to draw a quarter of the design. I'll draw some filigree where needed. For the illustrations of Joker and Harley on the back of the card, I don't want it to be in my style, but something a little more classic. So I'll turn to the work of the amazing Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, who created the style guide for the DC Universe in the 80s. If you've seen the illustrations that are on the Superpowered Toys card backs, then you know his work. I used to do licensed work for Warner Brothers, and I still have the Looney Tunes style guide, but not the DC Universe. They are re-releasing this to the public, and it's up for pre-sale right now, but it doesn't ship until December, so I'm going to do what I can with these low-resolution images that I found online. I'll trace them as best I can. Hopefully I do them justice. Now I'll trace everything with the pen tool in Illustrator so that the line work is super tight. Select members of my Patreon will receive the working files for the front and back of this illustration. Join us today on Patreon. I changed the middle circle from a bicycle spoke and wheel to a poker chip to differentiate this from the bicycle brand. Now I'll change the colors to red and white. Add the character illustrations, change those to red and white as well. And now everything is ready to print out and assemble. Here's what that finished product looks like. Check it out. Alright, here is the final piece. Now, I'm going to send the digital files over to Matt at Surprise Comics so he can get the prints ready for the big event. Speaking of which...
Okay, do it again, wave back there. Surprise Comics! Go.
All right, that was really fun, and I am really happy with the way these turned out. I only wish that I had a bat cave to display them in, but I guess an underground lair is the next best thing. If you like this piece and you want to see me create more projects inspired by totally awesome Gen X stuff, then take that giant mallet and slam down on the like and subscribe button. And until next we meet again, you can pass the time with another one of my insane projects right up here.
Life used to be so placid. Won't you please put down that acid and say that we're sweethearts?